Hi, everyone. We're going to continue to read some more of Flora and Ulysses. And Ulysses is joining us again today. And we're going to do that with permission from Scholastic. I want to show you the work that we're going to do for this part of the book. And it's about sensory images. And on this paper that you're going to do, their senses are listed here. And on this side, it says, quote from the text. I did one for Flora and Ulysses. It's hard to see my writing, so I'm going to read it for you when we get to the last chapter because mine were found all in the last chapter. And then you're going to do this for your book and find things, quotes from the text for sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste, our senses. Are you ready, Ulysses? Oh, he has to come closer. All right. So the last time we read, Ulysses was in a box, and he's still in the box. So let's see what's going on in this chapter. Chapter 26, Spies Don't Cry. Flora's father was a careful driver. You're still in the box. He kept his left hand at 10 o'clock on the steering wheel and his right hand at 2. He never took his eyes off the road. He did not go fast. Speed, her father often said. That is what will kill you. That and taking your eyes off the road. Never, ever take your eyes off the road. Pop, said Flora, I need to talk to you. Okay, said her father. He kept his eyes on the road. About what? That sack and that shovel. What sack? What shovel? It occurred to Flora that her father would make an excellent spy. He never really answered questions. Instead, when asked a question, he simply responded with a nifty sidestep or a question of his own. For instance, when her parents were getting divorced, Flora had a conversation with her father that went something like this. Flora, are you and Mom getting divorced? Flora's father. Who says we're getting divorced? Flora, Mom. Flora's father. Is that what she said? Flora, that's what she said. Flora's father. I wonder why she said that. And then he started to cry. Spies probably didn't cry, but still. There's a sack and a shovel in the trunk of the car, Pop, said Flora. Is there? Said her father. I saw you put them in there. It's true. I did put a sack and a shovel in the trunk of the car. The criminal element said that it was a good idea to engage in relentless, open-ended questioning. If you question with enough ferocity, people are sometimes surprised into answering questions that they do not intend to answer. When it's doubt, question. Question more, question faster. Why, said Flora. I intend to dig a hole, said her father. For what, said Flora. A thing that I'm going to bury. What thing are you going to bury? A sack. Why are you going to bury a sack? Because your mother asked me to. Why did she ask you to bury a sack? Her father tapped his fingers on the steering wheel. He stared straight ahead. Why did she ask me to bury a sack? Why did she ask me to bury a sack? That's a good one. Hey, I know. Do you want to get something to eat? What? Said Flora. How about some lunch? Said her father. For the love of Pete, said Flora. Or some breakfast. How about we stop and eat a meal? Any meal. Flora sighed. The criminal element advised. Stalling, delaying, at avoiding at every possible sort when it came to dealing with a criminal. Her father wasn't a criminal, not exactly, but he had been enlisted in the service of villainy. Basically, he was in cahoots with an arch nemesis. So maybe it would be good to stall, to delay the inevitable showdown by going into a restaurant. Besides, the squirrel was hungry. You were hungry, weren't you? And he would need to be strong for the battle ahead. Okay, said Flora. Okay, sure, let's eat. Chapter 27. The world in all its smelly glory. Okay, sure, let's eat. What wonderful words those are, thought Ulysses. Let's eat. Talk about poetry. The squirrel was happy. This is all about you. He was happy because he was with Flora. He was happy because he had the words from Tootie's poem flowing through his head and heart. Ooh, came closer. He was happy because he was going to be fed soon. And he was happy because, well, happy. He climbed out of the shoebox and put his front paws on the door and his nose out the open window. He was a squirrel riding in a car on a summer day with someone he loved. His whiskers and nose were in the breeze. That must have been fun. And there were so many smells. Oh, he's got a lot of smells. Overflowing trash cans, just cut grass, sun-warmed patches of painting, the loamy richness of dirt, earthworms. Dogs, more dogs, dog again. Oh, dogs, small dogs, large dogs, foolish dogs. The torturing of dogs was the one reliable pleasure of a squirrel's existence. The tang of fertilizer. Ugh. A faint whiff of bird seed, something baking, all these smells. The hidden hint of nutritious acorn, pecan, the small, apologetic, don't mind me odor of a mouse, and the ruthless stench of a cat. Cats were terrible. Cats never to be trusted, never. I understand that. The world in all its smelly glory, in all its treachery and joy and nuttiness washed over Ulysses, ran through him, filled him. He could smell everything. He could even smell the blue of the sky. He wanted to capture it. He wanted to write it down. He wanted to tell Flora. He turned and looked at her. Keep your eyes open for malfeasance, she said to him. Ulysses nodded. The words from Tootie's poem sounded in his head. Flame up like flame. Yes, he thought, that's what I'll do. I'll flare up like flame and I'll write it all down. Chapter 28, The Giant Donut. You'll have to leave the squirrel in the car, said Flora's father, as he pulled into the parking lot of the Giant Donut. No, said Flora, it's too hot. I'll leave the windows down, said her father. Someone will steal him. You think someone would steal him? Her father sounded doubtful but hopeful. Who would steal a squirrel? A criminal, said Flora. The criminal element spoke often and passionately about the nefarious activities that every human being is capable of. Not only did it insist that the human heart was dark beyond all reckoning, it also likened the heart to a river. And further, it said, if we are not careful, the river can carry us along in its hidden currents of want and anger and need and transform each of us into the very criminal we fear. The human heart is a deep, dark river with hidden currents, said Flora to her father. Criminals are everywhere. Her father tapped his finger on the steering wheel. I wish I could disagree with you, but I can't. Ulysses sneezed. Achoo. Bless you, said her father. This is where I found all of my senses, the quotes. So I'm going to stop for just a moment and then finish off that chapter. On page 92 for sight, I wrote from the book, the quote from the book, she climbed out of the car and then she stood and looked at the giant donut sign. I'm looking at the sign. And then for hearing, this is what's to come, so I wanted you to pick it out and listen to it as I read the last part here. On page 96, for hearing, Rita screamed a long and impossibly loud scream, and I was thinking about hearing that scream. For smell, on page 94, the giant donut smelled like fried eggs and donuts and other people's closets. That's a funny smell. For touch, on page 96, Rita, and you're going to find out who Rita is, poked her pencil into the shoebox slowly, and revealed Ulysses' whiskered face. Now, I didn't find one for taste because unfortunately they didn't eat anything, and you'll find that out. I know you're still hungry. Anyway, I will tell you more about the story, and I want you to listen for the senses and the quotes that I just wrote for the senses. I'm not leaving him, said Flora, and they're right in front of this diner, the donut shop. Alfred T. Slipper took his parakeet, Dolores, with him everywhere, sometimes even to the offices of the Paxatucket Life Insurance Company. Not without my parakeet. That's what Alfred said. Not without my squirrel, said Flora. You love Flora. If her father recognized the sentence, if the words reminded him of their time together reading about incandesco, he didn't show it. He merely sighed. Bring him in then, he said, but keep the lid on the shoebox. Okay, she said, all right. She climbed out of the car, and then she stood up and looked up at the giant donut sign. Giant donuts inside, the sign screamed in neon letters, while an extremely large donut disappeared over and over again into a cup of coffee. But there was no hand on the donut. Who, Flora wondered, is doing the dunking? A small shiver ran down her spine. What if we were all donuts just waiting to be dunked, she thought. It was kind of a question that William Spiver would ask. She would hear him asking it. It was also the kind of question that William Spiver would have an answer for. That was the thing about William Spiver. He always had an answer, even if it was an annoying one. Listen to me, she whispered to the shoebox she were in. You are not a donut waiting to be dunked. You are a superhero. Do not let yourself be tricked or fooled. Remember the shovel. Keep an eye on George Bookman. Her father got out of the car. He put his hands in his pockets and jingled his change. Shall we? He said. Stall, delay, let's, said Flora. Chapter 29, Coochie Coo. That's about the touching, just so you know. The giant donut smelled like fried eggs and donuts and other people's closets. The dining room was full of laughter and donut dunking. A waitress sat Flora and her father at a booth in the corner and handed them glossy, enormous menus. Flora, serendipitously, the criminal element recommended action at possible junctures. This is all coming from Flora's mind. She has all these thoughts that come out. Remove the lid from the shoebox. Ulysses poked his head out and looked around the restaurant, and then he turned his attention to the menu. I bet you know what that was. He stared at it with a dreamy look on his face. Remember, he's hungry. Get whatever you want, said Flora's father. Order your heart's desire. Ulysses emitted a happy sigh. Pay attention, whispered Flora. A waitress came and stood over them. She tapped her pencil on the order pad. What can I get you, she said. Her name tag spelled out her name in all capital letters. Rita, Rita. Flora narrowed her eyes. The exclamation point made Rita seem untrustworthy, or, at the very least, insincere. Well, said Rita, what's it going to be? Her hair was piled up very, very high on her head. She looked like Marie Antoinette. That's a person from history. Not that Flora had ever seen Marie Antoinette, but she had read about her in The Terrible Things That Can Happen to You, issue of the French Revolution. Marie Antoinette, from the little bit that Flora knew about her, would have made a very bad waitress. Flora suddenly remembered that she had a squirrel in her lap. She tapped Ulysses on the head. Lie low, she whispered to him, but be prepared. She arranged the washcloth so that he was almost completely hidden. What you got there? Said Rita. Where? Said Flora. In the box, said Rita. Got a baby doll in the box? Are you talking to your baby doll? Talking to my baby doll, said Flora. She felt a flush of outrage crawl up on her cheeks. For the love of Pete, she was 10 years old, almost 11. She knew how to administer CPR. She knew how to outwit an arch nemesis. She was acquainted with the profound importance of seal blubber. She was the sidekick to a superhero. Plus, she was a cynic. What self-respecting cynic would carry around a doll in a shoebox? I think she was offended. I do not, said Flora, have a baby doll. Let me see her, said Rita. Don't be shy. She bent over. Her big Marie Antoinette hair scraped against Flora's chin. No, said Flora. George Buckman, said Flora's father in a worried voice. George Buckman. George Buckman, how do you do? Coochie coo, said Rita. Flora felt a very pointed, very specific sense of doom. Rita poked her pencil, this is the touching, into the shoebox. Slowly, slowly, she pushed the washcloth around. Slowly, and the washcloth, oh, so slowly, fell back and revealed Ulysses' whiskered face. George Buckman, said her father, a much louder voice, how do you do? Rita screamed a long and impossibly loud scream. I would imagine that was very loud. You did too? Ulysses screamed in return, and then he leaped from the shoebox. At this point, things stopped proceeding at such a leisurely pace. The squirrel was airborne, and time swung back into action with a vengeance. At last, thought Flora, It's incandesto time. What's that, Ulysses? Oh, Ulysses is saying, but he never got a chance to eat. Well, I don't have any Cheetos, but maybe you'd like this bag of Doritos. You would? Oh, he's very excited. He's going to have some Doritos. Oop. He's so excited he fell off the thing. He's excited for his Doritos. Bye, guys. I hope you enjoyed this story.